on this picture? What do you think? Okay, creation of flow of CSF, right? CSF. Okay. Anyone have a different thought? Yeah, Jessica?
It's basically the same thing.
Same thing? Okay, all right. You guys all agree? Okay, so then I'm going to ask you, where does it all start? Choroid plexus. Number one, right? Remember, I told you CSF is made by choroid plexus, so that's a good starting point. So in this case, where are we? What ventricle? Third ventricle, right? Could we have started in the lateral ventricle? Yeah. But they just chose to start at the third ventricle. So this there, we have choroid plexus in all ventricles, okay? And then it goes through the third ventricle, agree? Then what? What's the next step? I'm going to pick on Valerie. So we're at the third ventricle. Then what? What's the next step? It goes down the cerebral aqueduct. Yeah, that's a mesencephalon. Agree? Okay. All right. Then how about the other Anthony? Anthony D. So we're here, cerebral aqueduct. What's the next step? We're going to go to the...
Goes towards the cerebellum.
Right, going to go toward the cerebellum, agree? And Emma, where are we here? Are we in the cerebellum or not? No, we're in the fourth ventricle. Good, fourth ventricle. Okay, then moving on, Gina, what's the next step here? We're here now, fourth ventricle. What do you think? It's gonna go down, and it might go into the subarachnoid space right away, agree? There's an opening here. But is that the only way to go? No. Okay, so someone give me the other route. It didn't go here, where else will it go? Yeah, Jessica.
You can also go all the way down the spinal cord and come back up.
Exactly. You go all the way down the spinal cord and then come back up. But it will still be in the subarachnoid space, agree? Okay? Now, as it comes back up, okay, so now I'm here, subarachnoid space, agree? Okay, next person, Brandon, we're in the subarachnoid space. What's next?
Go up there to the superior sagittal sinus.
Right, it's going to go up, go toward the superior sagittal sinus, agree? But before it gets to the superior sagittal sinus, it's going to have to pass through what? Land. So we're here, subarachnoid space, going toward the superior sagittal sinus. But before we go to the superior sagittal sinus, it has to pass through the villus. Yes, the arachnoid villus. Make sense? Kind of have to go into these little round bump, the villus. Agree? And then it goes into the venous blood, right? Venous fluid movement. And here, take a wild guess. Venous blood in the brain is going to go toward where? Toward the? Which jugular? Internal jugular. Ah. And then what? Internal jugular becomes brachiocephalic vein. Remember, trunk is artery. Okay? So brachiocephalic vein. The two brachiocephalic veins merge to become the superior vena cava, and now we're back to the heart. And the rest you should know. Agree? So you see how everything ties together? Yes? So this is why I kind of pretty much custom made this class around the blood circulation, because I could tie everything back to the blood circulation. All right. Any questions here before I leave this picture? Yeah.
The spinal cord goes all the way down the spine and back up. Like, what causes it to go back up? Is it just body movements, just like our blood, or is there something else that causes it to go back up?
Well, you have to remember, CSF up here is always taken out of subarachnoid space to go into the vein, correct? So that draws the fluid to go back up.
Does it like pressure it?
Not pressure, it's just fluid will move where there's least resistance.
Water displacement.
Yes. So as fluid is removed up here, it just naturally comes up. because it's being removed. It's the same thought as, anyone has a fountain at home, a water fountain? To get the water fountain going, you just suck a little bit, and then the water starts flowing, correct? But to get it going, you're gonna have to suck a little bit in the very beginning to create that movement, and then after that, it just, it just goes. Same idea. Because it's being withdrawn up here into the venous blood, the CSF would just continuously flow up if there's no obstruction. Okay. Yeah, question?
Is CSF being made in every ventricle?
Yes, because every ventricle has choroid plexus. Okay, choroid plexus. All right, so let's look at the blood-brain barrier. Okay, so remember, the brain is very delicate. You do not want anything and everything to come into the brain without screening. So therefore, we have to have something called blood-brain barrier. And it helps protect the brain against what? Exposure to what? Drugs, waste, and other substances that are in the blood, okay? That could adversely affect the brain. Does that make sense? Okay, you gotta protect that brain. Very, very delicate. So what we have is what kind of capillary in the brain?
Continuous.
Continuous, yes. Continuous capillary. And it also has tight junction. Gosh, it's been a long time. Gosh, go back week 1. Tight junction. What does the English word tight mean? Up against each other, yeah? Okay, on a tight pair of jeans.
Oh yeah, they don't have any spaces.
Exactly. So there are no space, no gap between the cells. So nothing can squeeze in between cells, right? So that's a tight junction, up against each other, so that nothing can leak between cells. And then we also have astrocyte, which we talked about already, correct? Okay, so let's move on. But there are some places in the brain that are missing the astrocyte, the tight junction. Where? Where do we not have the tight junction and the continuous capillary? In the choroid plexus, hypothalamus, pineal gland. Why? Why would these places be lacking the blood-brain barrier? Yeah.
Because they're manufacturing hormones or different substances that need to get into the blood.
Very good. Okay. Because these places are making hormones, or for whatever reason, you want an easier passage to and from blood, correct? And last time we saw hypothalamus, pineal gland as endocrine glands, you guys remember last week? So you want those hormones to be able to come into blood without obstruction, without barriers. Pretty logical? Okay, so yes, once again, it's not just about memorizing, it's about understanding why it is the way it is. Okay. All right. So we have continuous capillary, agree? We have tight junctions. Okay, and we have astrocytes. Okay, so those are the 3 things to keep in mind. And then it change. Okay. All right. So, don't we have a thingy on? Hang on. I am so surprised. I'm looking for the well, okay. Apparently it's 8 years. Okay, I'm gonna have to do a search then because it's not there. Okay, hold on. Choroid plexus. Here we go. Okay, I like this picture. Does it come up? it's not great quality, just bear with me. So here we're in the ventricles, okay, I wanna expand on choroid plexus. So this is a capillary, agree? And this is what kind of cell? Lining the ventricles are? No, that's the it's a type of glial cells. Sounds like, yeah, ependymal cells, right? Sounds like epithelial, so ependymal cells. So the choroid plexus is ependymal cells. Okay, let me write this here. Choroid plexus, what is the choroid plexus? You have ependymal cells plus the capillary. And capillary, we already talked about being, simple squamous cells, right? Capillary wall, simple squamous cells. So, the combination of the two, choroid plexus is a combination of ependymal cells, capillary wall, and it allows fluid to come in and out. Okay, so it allows for exchange, and that is what makes CSF. So once plasma leave, okay, so let me say plasma, so H2O, water, right, which is basic plasma, agree? Water is going to go into the ventricle from the blood plasma. So the capillary, the ependymal cells are going to allow for fluid to leave and go to the ventricle. That's a choroid plexus. Okay? Like I said, it's a terrible picture, but I don't want to waste my time looking for a better picture. Whereas the blood-brain barrier is this thing. Here's a capillary astrocytes connecting the neuron to the blood. That would be the blood-brain barrier. Yeah.
Is it possible for you to add the slide on Canvas?
Yeah, I'll try to find a better one because it's all blurry.
Okay.
I know it was in a different textbook that we used before, so that's why I was looking for this picture, but it's not in the slides I offered you now. But yeah, I'll try to find a better picture. But this is pretty much what it is. You know what I mean? Okay, so choroid plexus is this thing. Blood-brain barrier is that thing. Okay? Not the same thing. Okay? Any questions? All right. All right, let's move on. So in lab, we talk about the different lobes of the brain. Yes? In lecture, I need you to know what exactly it does. Okay, just a quick one-liner, nothing complicated. So I'm going to let you look at this. Everyone, look at the occipital lobe. What jumps out at you for the occipital lobe? What key word? Keep on
Primary visual cortex.
Visual, correct. Cortex. What is cortex again? That's the superficial gray matter. That's the surface of the brain, right? So in the occipital lobe, we have visual cortex. Okay, so right there. Make sure you understand that. Occipital lobe. So what does that mean, visual cortex? Your eye. Okay, let's trace this. You know this. So your eye has what kind of nerve? Optic nerve, which is cranial nerve number 2. And it's going to go, that cranial nerve is going to go through what? You know this answer. Cranial nerve 2 goes through a canal called the optic canal. Agree? What bone is that? Sphenoid bone. Okay, optic canal, sphenoid bone carries the optic nerve. Okay, and then it's going to cross with that chiasm. You guys remember? Chiasm. And then it's going to go to here. kind of synapse in the primary visual cortex, occipital lobe. That's a far distance. Anyway, let's move on. Temporal lobe. Temporal lobe. What do you see as the key word in temporal lobe? Auditory. Aha. Auditory. What does that mean, auditory? Sound, right? Listening. Agree? So, your ear is right here, correct? And it goes through the external, middle, inner ear, which I know you don't have yet. We'll have that next semester, next week, okay? Anyway, so you guys know what nerve, what cranial nerve is linked to hearing? Number 8, vestibular cochlear nerve, number 8. Vestibular cochlear nerve. And then that nerve will go ultimately to this lobe, the temporal lobe, okay? For your hearing. Like I said, I just want you to know a quick one-liner for each lobe. All right, let's move on. Frontal lobe. Actually, this next one is insula. Insula. Insula, what do you see? I see gustatory. You know what gustatory is? Taste. And olfactory. Gee, what's olfactory? Smell. Okay, so the insula, taste and smell. Okay. Taste here, smell here. So very, very close by. Okay. Well, you can argue that smell really is temporal lobe. A little bit, but it's right here. It's really close to the insula as well. So taste for sure. Maybe a little bit of smell. Okay, so taste for insula. Temporal lobe is mostly hearing, okay? All right. Frontal lobe, okay, moving on to the frontal lobe now. Frontal lobe is all of this. And what divides the frontal lobe from the parietal lobe? Central sulcus. That's this thing right here, correct? Okay. So right before the central sulcus is the precentral gyrus. All right, I'm gonna have to move this down. I can't write. Okay, so the precentral gyrus is that blue thing. Agree? What's the blue thing all about? Motor, which means what? M for motor, M for movement, which has to do with muscle, yes? What kind of muscle? Skeletal muscle, correct. So, for your body to move, for your body to flex your muscle, it all starts here on the primary motor cortex in the frontal lobe. Okay. Starts here. Okay? So that you should know. The other thing you should know about frontal lobe is this area here that's not labeled. Okay. Frontal lobe is for critical thinking. And, bless you, frontal lobe is the last lobe to develop in humans. I don't know about other animals, but in humans, it's the last lobe to develop. Anyone know about what age our frontal lobe is completely, fully developed?
Like 2025.
Yeah, in your 20s. What does that tell you about teenagers? Teenagers, their frontal lobe has not developed fully. Agree? It's there, but it's not fully developed. So what does that tell you about teenagers and critical thinking? Poor judgment, right? So think back to your own teenage years. Did you do stupid things? Yes, we all did, because our frontal lobe was not fully developed. And I want you to remember this, because if you have kids, comes a teenage year, you can probably kill your kid because they do some of the stupidest thing, and you're like, what were you thinking? And you know, not to like defend them, but you have to remember their frontal lobe is not fully developed. So they're gonna do stupid things that you and I would not do, and you're like, What are you thinking? You'd get killed doing that, right? But they just don't understand because the critical thinking part is not fully developed in the frontal lobe.
What area was that again?
Is here. So it's not color coded for you, but the frontal lobe is tied to critical thinking. Okay? Alright, let's move on. Now we're in what lobe? The parietal lobe. And what is this yellow area here called? The post-central gyrus. Agree? Post-central gyrus is linked to the somatosensory. Oh my gosh. Hey, let's review. What is sensory? Sensory is the sense of touch, right? Somato. We talked about this last time. What the heck is somato? Voluntary. You're consciously aware of. Okay? So everything that you feel can be taken up to this area here of your brain. Okay? The post-central gyrus. Okay? All right. Now, one last thing. As you look at all this, are there multiple places for speech and communication? Yeah. Multiple places. And you don't have to know all of them. I just want you to know there are multiple places. Okay? There's Wernicke speech. There's Broca speech. There's, so speech is complicated. Okay? Speech, Gnostic area is to know, right? So speech is complicated. It's multiple places in the brain, and that's why when we have stroke patient, oftentimes they have speech impairment, right? Because there's so many places in the brain that has to do with speech, and you knock one of them out, that's it. You're going to have a problem with communication. All right. Okay, let's go to the next picture. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to ask you to look and talk to your neighbor. What is this all about?
What part of the body? Okay, so
Look at both sides, okay? Both sides.
sensory. That's touchy feeling, like literal feeling, like touch, not like
Yeah.
emotions. Okay.
Really emphasizing it.
I know, because I was like, I don't understand what she meant, like feel your feeling.
Yeah.